Hey everybody, Austin here for another acoustic guitar lesson, kind of training time here, and we're going to talk about something today in this beginner series that even people who have been playing a while sometimes get confused on. In one of our sessions where we learned the chords in the key of G, I talked about how in the key of G you can almost play any song, and a lot of the reason for that is because we can use a thing called a capo. And I want to talk about a capo on this whole session right here, using a capo, because this is a really, really important piece of equipment for those of us who play rhythm guitar, especially on the acoustic guitar. If you don't have one of these and you are trying to learn acoustic guitar, I would ask you to please go invest the 15 or 20 bucks or 10 bucks or whatever these cost. They come in all kinds of shapes and sizes, and you can buy them online or at your local guitar store. They have tons of them. So go buy one of these. And this capo, I'm going to do the best I can to explain to you how a capo changes the sound of a guitar, and hopefully that'll help you when you get stuck playing a song that's in a key that you don't like so much. Okay? So the first thing I want to do is remind you that when we learned the G, or maybe some of you already know a G, right? The problem is sometimes you want that G to sound higher. And the reason is because somebody would bring you a song, let's say in A flat or B flat or something like that. And you're like, wow, I don't even know how to play an A flat, and what are the chords in an A flat? And you're a little confused by it. But you say, hey, what I'd rather do is I'd rather play it in the key of G. Then what you can do is you can actually use a capo to make the guitar sound higher. So if you know anything about the way that music lines up, and the best way to know this is like on a piano. If you know how piano works, any of you had piano lessons, you learn that there's a C and then a C sharp and then a D, just looking at the piano board. And then after the D is an E flat, and then an E, then an F, then an F sharp, then a G, G sharp, A, B flat, B, and then a C again. And if you kind of think of music that way, those are the different keys that we would play a song in. And so if somebody gives you a song in the key of A flat, you say, but I want to play it with the G position on my fingers, but I want it to sound like an A flat, then you say, well, that is one half step higher. An A flat is one half step higher than a G. We're going to come back to that in just a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain to you what the acoustic guitar, how a guitar is affected by the capo. If I'm going to play a G, right? What's going to happen is the beautiful thing about a capo is if you put it right here on the nut itself, this is called the nut of the guitar. If you were to put it on the nut, right, that is capo position 0, and a G still sounds like a G, right? Because you haven't changed the nut. But what you're going to do here is if you move the capo up to capo position number 1, which is right behind the bar here that you see that runs vertically, and then you play a G, it sounds like an A flat. And so what you're doing is you're just making the guitar shorter. You move it up to capo position number 2 behind the 2nd fret, and then you play a G. It sounds like an A. We moved it up 2 half steps. If we move it up to 3, we move up 3 half steps. And then it sounds like a half step higher than that, so a B flat. And then if you move it up to the 4th, then it sounds like a B, another half step higher. So every time you move it, and the same thing works for every chord you play. If I were to play a D, then I move it up to capo position number 1, it becomes an E flat. If I were to move it to capo position number 2, a D position with your hand sounds like another half step higher than that, so an E. All right. So back to the original example that I gave. Somebody gives me a song in A flat, but I want to play it with G chords because I don't know how to play A flat chords, let's say. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to think, I want to play it in G, but the music is in A flat. That is a half step higher, 1 half step higher, which means I want the guitar to sound a half step higher. So that's 0. That's capo position 1, which means my G is going to sound like an A flat. And then every chord in that song, when I play a C, it's actually going to sound like what? Anybody know out there? It's going to sound like a D flat. Okay? When I play a D, it's going to sound like an E flat, a half step higher. Everything moves up a half step in sound. If I were to move it up 3, then my G sounds like a B flat. If I were to move it to capo position number 2, then my G sounds like an A. And my C sounds like a D, and my D sounds like an E, and my E minor sounds like an F sharp minor. So hopefully that helps you a little bit to understand the way that a capo is used on an acoustic guitar, or on any guitar for that matter, to where it makes everything sound higher the higher you go up, shortening the neck of the guitar. So if you have any more questions about that, and that is like as confusing to you as it is to a lot of people, be sure and send in your questions to worshipcatalyst.com. We'll do the best that we can to answer. So God bless you. Have a great day.